I'm so happy that you're here, Sunny. Thank you so much for joining us.
Wouldn't have missed this for the world.
We've had a really fun year together. We've known each other since 2000, at least 2012, because we were on the Country Throwdown tour together. And
We were both 6.
we were 6 years old. Just
I don't know
little
why y'all are
babies.
laughing.
Yeah.
We were
because-
child prodigies at 6.
Exactly. And that was just a few short years ago. And we were on tour with Gary Allen. We were out with Eric Pasley. Florida Georgia Line was in the midst of releasing a song called Cruise. You know, it had some promise. It did a few things. But we were the two girls on that tour, and we definitely stuck together. And we ended up getting in a writing room probably 2 years ago with the amazing Natalie Hemby and reconnecting and writing my title track, No One Gets Out Alive. And I think that, that just brought us back together as friends. I have so much respect for you. And I think you're just an artist who's authentic, who's always generating incredibly sincere music. You can't help but be generous with your authenticity. You often are described as a spitfire. I always see that in every article I read about you. How do you feel about that word?
I have a leather jacket that says it on the back.
Okay, so you own it.
So I own it. My parents have always said, like, you know how when you're little, I don't know if all public schooling is like this, but I went to school in East Texas and they had tickets and you got 3 every single day, and I got them taken away every single day. So my mom was like, I kind of expected you to be a little bit on the, what is that word? Just, yeah, a little bit.
Rebellious, sassy.
Little sassy. Yeah. So I kind of own it. I don't know.
I just don't feel like a lot of people can pull off a song that's called You Can Tie Me Up, But You Can't Tie Me Down. And I think, that's one of your many, many, many songs. And we're going to talk about your music and everything. But it's, you have this cheekiness to you, but it's not a shtick. It's like who you are. And I just feel like it's so appealing. And especially meeting you early on in my career, it was very inspiring for me to see someone who was fully owning the rawness and not like there's something very sexy and powerful about that. And
thank you.
I was a Catholic schoolgirl from kindergarten to 12th grade. So for me, that was like, it was good to see you owning that kind of,
Well, I come from a family that, in fairness, they do not, like, my parents taught us, like, don't ever not say what you're thinking, which has gotten me in trouble, I will say, over the years. You can ask my current boyfriend, but, like, you don't have to, as I've learned as an adult, you don't have to speak everything that's on your mind. But it's nice to, because then there's never any concern about mincing words. You know exactly what I'm thinking. I don't ever have to worry about having told a lie about anything. Like, I just say exactly the truth, and then it kind of either lands properly or not, and then we deal with the problems after that.
Do you feel like songwriting is a way to still express yourself, in that authentic, sincere way, but maybe it's a better way to curate all those thoughts and kind of
Totally.
pull them together?
Totally.
So maybe it gives you a little bit of pause because you have all these things that you want to write about, but then you can kind of construct them in a more presentable way.
Yeah, and honestly, it's kind of like writing in a diary, which, I don't do, but I did at one point in my life, and then you go back and read the diary stuff, and you're like, wait, I could totally write a song about that. And it's something that I've already come and gone with. Like, it's not, I literally found an entire box when I moved of lyrics from 2004. Jackpot. And you think I'm kidding you when I tell you that I've got 3 songs started from that box. It's just, I even called my friend Erin Enderlin, she's a co-writer of mine, and I was like, dude, you are not going to believe what I just found. A box of songs I started literally 20 years ago. She's like, don't write them with anyone else. She's
That's
like,
awesome.
those are the ideas that your fresh mind is writing down everything. Because now we're so tired. Like, I say I'm tired. I presume you're
you
tired.
can include me in that.
I mean, we're all tired. And so like a lot of times you just don't have, all the energy that you had, and you have to use your time so much more wisely now. So it's nice to find a bucket of lyrics from 2004.
Well, and also you sometimes think these things that you jot down in your diary on a random Tuesday are not going to amount to much, but you realize just how observant you were in that moment and just taking stock of that time in your life, what it can evolve to eventually mean when you do discover it later on. It's like that fresh imprint of that moment is able to be presented to you by like your younger self.
Exactly. And sometimes you have to just let things sit for a while.
Yeah. And I read that you, when you're putting your albums together, like on Married Alone, there were songs that were old songs that you decided you wanted to include in that record. And I feel like a lot of artists, we create these rules for ourselves where we're like, well, that's falling outside the parameters of this timeline, therefore it won't make it on this record. Like, what is that process of weeding out those songs or digging back into that box of old songs?
For me, my main rule is don't have parameters. I mean,
That's a good rule.
I don't.
Your
I
rule
wish
is
that
no rules.
I really wish that I could, but I can't, and I'm just going to be okay with it now. And I don't feel like we just got out of the studio 2 months ago, made a new record, and there's a song on there that's like 20 years old that I wrote with a girlfriend of mine, Brennan Lee, and we both forgot about it. And we both heard it on an old iPod that didn't even have a charger. Had to go buy a charger. And I was like, oh my God, what is this song? And I said, do you remember writing this? And she said, no. And I go, that's us. Like, we're talking. That's us. We're talking. We both forgot about it. And it's probably one of my favorite songs on the new record. So if I would have said like, oh, don't put old songs in there. Don't put da-da-da. You have to have brand new, fresh, approach to everything. No, you don't. You can put whatever you want because guess what? It's your record. You can do whatever you want. You don't have to have a role.
Well, I love that. I think a lot of times songs will evolve in their meaning too, the longer they've lived. And I know we'll get into it, with my current record, a lot of those songs feel prophetic now with some of the things that have unfolded in my career. And I didn't know that they would actually mean more to me because I probably was writing from so much truth in the beginning, but then you keep living that path and the songs are going to probably even take on more meaning. But before we get too much into creative process and everything, I want to orient the audience with just your story of how you got to Nashville quickly, because I know you came from Texas and you were playing in bars in Austin, and then you were discovered and signed in a way that is kind of unheard of and thrown into the Music Row fire.
I've had a condensed version of this for a long time because
yes,
it's
I know
really
you're ready to go with it.
It's really like a convoluted story, so I'll try to condense this for you. But I started playing in bars in Texas, and I kind of always knew that I wanted to do something else besides that. There's plenty of people that stayed in Austin 7 nights a week making plenty of money, but like I had more vision, I think, for wanting to leave for myself. I feel like that's what I wanted to do, and I've always figured out a way to do what I want to do. And so I was talking to my mom one day, and my mom said, well, where do you want to go? And I said, I don't know. Like, I've heard about Nashville. You can go there, and like there's writers everywhere, because I'd only written by myself at that point. And she's like, well, go. And I was like, well, what do you mean go? Like, she's like, go. I said, okay. So I went. And I got on a plane, and I rented a car, and I went and stayed at the Demumbrian Best Western. And I fell in love with that hotel, and I stayed there. I started a whole plan for myself after I went one time to Nashville. I went and got a bank loan because my parents were like, we're not going to pay for this. If you want to do this, this is on you. We already put you through college, and you're not using that, so figure it out. So I went and got a bank loan to figure out how much it would cost to fly on Southwest from Austin to Nashville once a month, and how much it would cost to rent a car and stay in a hotel. And I did that for 1 solid year. I got a loan for 1 solid year and came up here every single month for 12 months, fell in love with it, ended up moving here. I've moved here 3 times now. but I always missed my parents, and so I always came back home to Texas. Long story short, I ended up going to all these writers' nights, and I would go up, and at the time, I don't know if times are like this anymore, but you could go to a writer's night, and like random people could be there. Like you wouldn't, Tony Lane was at one of them. He's one of the greatest writers known to man. And I introduced myself to him, and we wrote a song like the next week. And then Natalie Himby, I met her at a writer's night. I don't know if times are like that now. I don't know. I feel very fortunate for that. But anyway, fast forward to I'm playing this place called the Poodle Dog in Austin every Sunday, and I love it. And I'd always be home for that gig. And I randomly get a MySpace message. So like back when MySpace was there. And it was a little gray head. It didn't have a picture. And it said, "Hey, my name's Scott. I own a record label." And I was like, cool. Like, whatever. And so he told me a little bit about his record label, which was very fresh. And he had signed a girl named Taylor Swift. And that was his, like, claim to fame. And I was like, cool, that's not what I do. But, I mean, yeah, I'll talk to you. I mean, I'll talk to anyone. I'll talk to a wall and then probably talk back. And so he said, "Do you ever play in Nashville?" And I said, "No. I mean, I'm actually going to play in Nashville in November." And he said, "Okay, well, can you put me and my wife on the list?" And I was like, "Okay, you weirdo." And so I don't know this guy, right? So he comes to the gig, and I had made kind of like a plan with myself that if I didn't have a record deal by the age of 30, that I wasn't even going to attempt to ever find one, because I just figured I would just continue doing what I was doing. But I kind of felt like a record deal was maybe what you kind of needed to do, because none of us knew what we were supposed to do. So that was in November. My birthday's in December.
Oh, happy belated birthday, by the way.
Oh, thank you. Thank you. So I was going to be 30 in December, and on the 29th of November, I signed a record deal. And then I thought, well, this is going to be cool. Wow, this happened over MySpace. And I know that doesn't happen for everyone, and it's very
it's
weird.
Unheard of. And also, for anyone who doesn't know, this is Scott Borchetta, who started Big Machine. Mm-hmm. This is when Taylor Swift was blowing up. I mean, this was the guy to get signed by on Music Row. So,
and he had found my record on his desk, which I didn't even know who this guy was. So I didn't give it to him. I still don't know who gave it to him. But I did have, a lot of people try to get you to kind of talk shit about things from your past. And I'm like, I'm not going to talk shit about someone that did everything he said he was going to do. He didn't do what I wanted him to do, but he did everything he said he was going to do. So, I mean, I can't be mad at that. And
he was out in the field doing his homework, trying to find people. I mean,
exactly.
I think that story is pretty unheard of.
It is. And he gave me opportunities that I never would have had otherwise, ever. And I'm a smart enough person to know that I would not have had those opportunities otherwise. So I'm very grateful for him. It was what I deem my time on the Artist Protection Program. And I was very hungry. Those are my two definitions of those 6 years of my life.
Well, and that's how we first initially met, because we both were kind of put on Republic Nashville. I was like the redheaded stepchild, no offense to the beautiful redheads out there. And I wasn't really claimed because an executive from New York had pushed me upon these people. And I think there was a bit of I sign. No one tells me who to sign in this town kind of vibe. And we were out on radio tour together. And you had From a Table Away out. And every Monday I'd be checking the ad board at country radio to see like if my song was getting any airplay. And then you and I were just constantly like running into each other at these radio stations, trying to get program directors to add our songs. But also, we were in it.
And that was also a time when, like, now, if you do listen to country radio, there's a lot more women played. There were not. And I mean not at that time. 2010?
Yes,
11?
I think we'd been kind of bamboozled because we grew up during a time where women reigned supreme on not just country radio, but
all radio.
You had Shania, you had the Chicks, you had Shadazy, you had like all these people. And I think it was that you see it, you believe it thing. And obviously, I mean, we were just talking about this before the show. The first #1 from a woman on country radio this year, we're in December, just came from Ella Langley, and it's a duet.
It wasn't
So
even
we're
a
happy
solo.
for her, but it's
Yeah.
December, everybody. Like, it's just still a problem. And so my question, I know we can riff on this for a while because I think your music, it's always been so quality, but because of the resistance at country radio, I know that you have evolved to this Americana space, and you really are thriving there, but you are country. You know, I think you're sonically, you have all
Sure.
the wonderful components of a great classic country artist. Like, what are your thoughts on just, because I feel like I went elsewhere where I was celebrated, and I'm happy almost for that resistance. I'm grateful because I think it helped me find my voice. But do you have any resentment about that a little bit, that
I
we
do.
were sort of
I do,
pushed
but I
elsewhere?
also try not to dwell on it because I do have. There's a girl group that I'm a texting thread girl group that I have. We're all artists, and we're all country artists specifically. We're all very good friends, and we bitch on that thread so that we don't have to bitch other places, because there is a lot of unfairness. There is, but also like over the years, like I've seen people come and go left and right, and there's like flavor of the month, flavor of the month, flavor of the month. For whatever reason, I refuse to be a flavor of the month. I want to be like salt. You know what I mean? Like, you got to have, like, salt goes on everything.
Agreed.
My pants will tell you that. Like, salt, it will go on everything. And, like, honestly, it sucks. It does suck. There's no way around saying it sucks. But if you just keep your head down and just keep doing what you're doing and, like, try to find what you want to do. You did.
Yeah.
I did. I mean, like, it's a longevity game. I can't remember what the word is that my boyfriend always uses, but there's like a word that's kind
Sustainable?
of like, it's like, yeah, I mean, it's not a race or whatever. I wish I could remember what it was.
Consistent.
Yeah. Yeah.
I mean, I love what we do so much. I know that there will always be a space for us.
Mm-hmm.
And I think it pushed me artistically to like find that really sweet spot for me.
You're killing it.
Well,
You're killing it.
Like, you know,
dude.
it's been a good year. It ended well.
I mean,
but we both got dropped from labels that we were at and then received our first nominations months later. She got dropped from Republic and then got
In July.
nominated for her ACM.
in December.
I released this album, it's not even a year old, and was totally blindsided and dropped over the summer, not even 3 months after we put the album out, and then found out about this Grammy nomination for the album a couple weeks ago. And I'm like, I'm not trying to be like, but I think that there is something to be said for autonomy and for, like, you've been totally in command of what you do, and you moved to 30 Tigers and you started Aunt Daddy Records, which tell us the story behind the name of that.
So my harmony singer that you will meet later, she's the one that'll be to my left. Her name is Joanna. She was on tour with me during all the radio tour and like all the touring and shows and stuff, and she was pregnant, and she had a much better attitude about being tired pregnant than I did about not being pregnant. Like, she was a trooper. And she was with me all the way up till Thanksgiving time, and we took our little Thanksgiving break. We were going to get back together a couple weeks later. She was still going to be pregnant, and she had a baby very early, and she had him on a Wednesday, and we left on Friday. And she called me and goes, "Hey, guess what I did last night?" And I was like, "What?" And she goes, "I had a baby." And I was like, "What? What do you mean you had a baby?" She's like, "I had a baby." And I was like, "Holy shit." So she had a baby, and her children were with me so much during her pregnancy that her husband, who was my manager at the time, insisted that Aunt Daddy was the name. So they call me Aunt Daddy still to this day. That's been since 2010. So I named my record you have to have a record company to put out a record independently through a distribution. And I named it Aunt Daddy Records. So there you go.
I love it. Also, I feel like I'm trying to corner Aunt Daddy energy. So I like it. There's something very powerful and independent about it. And that, you taking that in your own hands, working with 30 Tigers, which is reputable for letting all their artists kind of forge their own path. They're a great distribution company in town, and they have lots of great strategy behind the releases, and they're selective about the artists that they work with too. I mean, there's so much power in that, and you taking back the reins of your career.
Taking back power in any situation is always really gratifying. It really is. Especially when you've been told that you can't do something, or that you've been made to feel like you can't do something. Because that's always really cute to me. If somebody's like, you're not going to be able to do that. And I'm like, aw. Yeah, I will. That's real cute, though. Thank you so much. And then, it may take me 2 years to do it, but then when I do it, it's the most validating waiting period of all time. 2 years ago, I had to let my entire team go. Everyone, there was one boat, I was the captain, and everyone else had oars going different ways. And I was like, this is not going to work for me. So I let everyone go. Band, management, booking, all of them, except my guitar player. And we basically just started over. And it has been the best decision that I've ever made business-wise in my entire life. And I didn't know what I was doing. I literally did not know what I was doing. And I'm not a super religious person, but I do definitely have, I pray, and I always think, not overly religious, I guess is what I should say, but my mom always is if you're going to make a decision, you need to get down on your knees and pray about it. And 3 times this has happened in my life. All 3 of them were when I was fixing to quit this business. So one was in 2012 when I got dropped, and I said, Mom, I cannot do this anymore. I cannot. I will not. I'm not going to do this. She goes, what I'm going to ask you to do is to please just pray about this and give yourself a timeline. And if you don't get an answer in your timeline, I'll support you. Only if you do this. So, okay. So I gave myself 2 weeks, 14 days. And literally on the 14th day at 5 o'clock, my manager called me and said, you've got an ACM nomination. The music business shuts down from November 24th to January 6th. Yeah. So this was in December. So even the guy that called was I normally wouldn't call, but I just felt like I needed to call today. So that was one thing. And you think I have never cried before. I was sobbing. So then even 2 years ago, because this business is so hard. It's the most amazing business ever, but it is so hard. And you literally, blood, sweat, and tears, that's no joke. And so I always say I'm going to quit just because it's so fucking hard. It makes me want to die most days. It's so hard. But the good parts are so good that they outweigh the bad, so you keep going. So 2 years ago, I was in another, I'm going to quit. My mom's like, Sonny, please just stop. Just stop being dramatic. I was like, no, Mom, I'm done. I can't do this. We were coming out of COVID. Everybody's still broke. You can't pay your bills. You can't pay your band. It's just terrible. Everything's so bad. And I was like, Mom, I just can't do it. I'm just going to have to get a job. So I signed up care.com to be an old people care person. Yeah. I was fixing to get a job. I was I cannot do this anymore. Cannot work.
I never knew this part.
Cannot do it. Because I don't tell people. Because it's I can't do this. It's just the hardest job I've ever done. And so my mom goes, do you remember in 2012 when I told you to get down on your knees and pray? And I was like, yes, Mother. And she's like, well, why don't you do that again? And I was like, Mom, please, it's not right now. Just stop, please. I call her Pollyanna because she's just so positive all the time. So anyway, she's like, just do it for me and stop being dramatic. Just do it. I was like, fine. So I was being a little brat. So I said, okay. So I gave myself 2 weeks, and I'm not kidding. on the last day of the 2 weeks, I get a random phone call from the Country Music Hall of Fame. And they were like, we want to put you in a exhibit in the Country Music Hall of Fame. And I was like, excuse me? Do you know who you're speaking to? Like, did you mean to call somebody else? Did you mean to call like Martina McBride or
Weren't
something?
they trying to reach you for a long time?
Yeah, so
too?
they had been trying to reach me, but all the contact that they had, because I had to outrun a couple husbands, so like I kept changing all my phone numbers. So they had tried to reach me, and then this random guy ended up reaching out to me. He's like, we literally do not know how to get in touch with you. You don't have a manager. You don't have a booking agent. Like, who does all your stuff? I'm like, oh, me, we do. Me and all my me's. And so anyway, I had basically prayed about that and just said, if I'm supposed to do this business, please, Lord, send something to make me know that I'm supposed to do this. And then I got an exhibit for a year in the Country Music Hall of Fame, which is like crazy. So
what items did you bring?
So I have this one guitar that's a Gibson J45 that's kind of like the only thing that I have that's worth anything. And it's only because of the signatures, because the guitar isn't really worth anything. I mean, it's like $2,000, but there's like 30-something signatures on it, half of which are now passed. Merle Haggard, Loretta Lynn, Wanda Jackson, Alan Jackson, Willie Nelson, Charlie Pride, Rodney Crowell, Bob Seger, Tanya Tucker, Marty Stewart, Vince Gill. Like, it's a killer. Like, I cannot believe that this is real, that it's mine. It's like, besides my dog, it's the only thing that I have that's worth anything. You know, like if my house was burning, I would get my boyfriend, my guitar, and my dog. Like, that's it.
Yeah. Dougie.
Yeah, Dougie.
So
yeah, they had my guitar, and they had a piece of art that my stepdad made. He does woodworking, and so it was it's a guitar made out of wood, and then it has dental floss for the strings. And it has a wood carving of my hat. That was my first hat that I got from this company called Standard Hat Works that I always get hats from. And we call it the party hat because it looks like it's a party. It just is. So he put that on there. And then the song is called Poet's Prayer. So he just made a little plaque for it. So they have that. And then my guitar strap and a couple other random things.
That's so cool. And you hand delivered them yourself, right?
Yeah, I sure did.
Yeah,
I don't trust anyone with my guitar.
Right.
I had to make them sign a paperwork and be like, now, y'all sure y'all going to keep this thing, like, safe, right? Because this is my retirement plan.
Right.
Because I'm in the music business.
This episode of Salute the Songbird is brought to you by Bearded Man Coffee, elevating coffee from cafe to kitchen to campsite. Follow at Bearded Man Coffee on socials.
There's a third thing that's happened. I guess I can tell you. I don't really care.
This is Salute the Songbird exclusive.
Well, it's just because it's not like as big as those two and it's not as blatant, but 4 days after I let everybody go, and like, keep in mind, like I literally let everyone go. And I do have a little bit of maybe a rash decision-making process. And I don't always think everything through. I just kind of go with my gut. And when I did let everyone go, I didn't probably think it through as well as I should have. And I called my boyfriend and was like, oh, I just fired everyone. He's like, what? I was like everyone. Like, I fired everyone. He's like, okay, that's cool. He's like, don't worry. Everything will be okay. Because we'd talked about it. But then actually doing it was really, really like intimidating. Because you know how hard it is to even replace like one guy, especially band-wise.
Well, because these are people that you live with and
know intimately, and like they know your business intimately. And the business side of it, especially, like they've got access to your bank accounts and they've got like every aspect of your life they know about. So it's like,
oh, so we're talking clearing the decks, like your business managers, everything.
Everyone.
Okay.
Not my business manager. I kept him.
Okay.
Him and my guitar player. Those are the two people. But yeah, there was a reason that I did it, and I didn't know why, but I knew that it was making me very anxious to have all the different opinions and the feelings out there and all this stuff. So I was like, well, it's done now. I can't really call him and say, just kidding, come back, you know. So we lived in Austin at the time, and we had a big freeze, and truth of the matter, very open book here. I was smoking cigarettes. I was frozen in at my sister's house. And neither of us had 4-wheel drive. So we just risked it and drove on this really bad icy weather up to the gas station, which was about 2 miles away, and almost died 3 times. But anyway, we just got in the van. We were just smoking cigarettes in the heat because we didn't have any electricity at the house because it was the worst weather ever. And I get this text message from someone that I have not spoken to in 9 years, according to my last text message from him, and his name was Jeremy Tepper. He was the program director at SiriusXM's Outlaw Country and Willie's Roadhouse, which is where I work now. And he just goes, "Yo, this still Sweeney?" And I was like, "Yo, hey, dude, what's up?" And he's like, "Where are you?" And I was like, "Oh, I'm at my sister's house. What's going on?" It was in a gas station parking lot, smoking with my sister. So trashy. So
I'm living the dream.
It was like we were like total trash that day. We didn't care. So anyway, he goes, "Hey, your name keeps getting tossed around for this radio deal. Would you be interested?" I literally said yes before I asked if it paid money, if I had to move, if I had to give up my firstborn child. I just said, "Sure, yeah, I want to do it. Where do I sign?" He's like, "Well, it's going to be a process, but like, let's talk some more." I was like, "Okay." So I did some interviews over the freeze next couple days, ended up with a radio show, and that would have never happened if I would have still been with that management. It just wouldn't have. I know them, and I know they would have squashed it because it wouldn't have been enough money for them to make a percentage, and like that's really what it boils down to. So I ended up doing this. It has been the best decision that I ever made, seriously. And that just came completely out of the blue 4 days after. I literally have not talked to Jeremy in 9 years. And then he just was like, "Hey, you want to be on a radio?" Like, "Yeah, I do." I sure do.
You just sent up the bat signal somehow.
Mm-hmm. So then he very unfortunately, he became one of my very, very closest friends and an amazing employer and boss. And he passed away in June from a heart attack at the age of 60. And it kind of like upended everything. And I was just on, Willie's Roadhouse. But in February prior to that, they were on the Outlaw Cruise. And Jeremy called me very upset. And he said, hey, we've had a really big, and he's like freaking out. I've never heard this man freak out in his life. He's like, cool cat. He's like, Mojo Nixon died, and I don't know what to do. I was like, I got you. So I started covering Mojo's slot without really even any conversation, and then it just kind of led to that. So now I'm doing 2 radio shows, Outlaw and Willie's, and I am forever indebted to Jeremy for giving me that opportunity because I do not know why my name was brought up. I've never done radio. It's not like I know what I'm doing. I still don't know what I'm doing. But he gave me an opportunity that I can never, ever, 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 ever replace. And I would have never gotten if it weren't for him. So I'm very grateful for that.
Thank you, Jeremy.
Thank you, Jeremy.
Yeah. I mean, I think it goes back to what we talked about at the very beginning of the conversation is just, you're going to speak what's on your mind. It's refreshing. I think everyone has a tendency to like over manicure what's coming out of their mouth. And, in the age of social media, we're like kind of only putting those beautiful moments out there. And when you listen to Sunny Side Up, it's like, I feel like I haven't seen you in a while. And then I turn that on and I'm like, there she is. She's making inappropriate jokes about the name of this song. And I won't say the name of the song.
I know which one you're talking about.
And you're just funny. And you also have such like a depth of knowledge of classic country music. And you're friends with like Jeannie Seely, who's this... You guys know who Jeannie Seely is. She's this incredible...
She's my queen. I call her Queenie Jeannie. She's amazing.
Yeah, Queenie Jeannie. But like you guys are buddies and you have this reverence. Like all the people you were just talking about that signed your Gibson. I mean, that's country music royalty. And I think you write really wonderful original songs, but you also pay tribute to a lot of these artists. How many times have you played the Grand Ole Opry?
I mean, not that I'm counting, but 70.
70. And
I mean, but like, I literally keep waiting for them to be like, okay, cool. Hope you enjoyed it. That was it.
right.
You know, because it's like that's one thing I never thought I would do. And then I did it once, screwed up so bad the first time. I cried.
That's not screwing up. I think that's showing what it means to you.
No.
We're not afraid of some tears around here.
No. It wasn't just tears. It was the worst thing I've ever heard. And I was screaming.
Did you curse on the Opry or
No.
something?
No. I would control myself. It was the worst thing I've ever heard. I am screaming one verse into this song. I'm on the Opry. And I'm just screaming, dancing around like an idiot. And then I start bawling. Don't finish the song. I maybe finished like the last chorus. I don't even know what happened. And so when I walked off, it was when Pete Fisher was the manager. And I walked off and I was like, oh my God, I'm so sorry. It was the worst thing. He's like, it's okay. Next time you'll get 2 songs. And I was like, wait, there's going to be a next time? And then I really lost it because I thought, hope you enjoyed that, you ding dong. Like that was your last chance. But then, I mean, I can't, it's really, really so surreal. I cannot believe they keep letting me go there. You know, like it's just
I feel that way too.
I know. It's such a pinnacle.
And the more my music has like wandered from what you expect to hear on the Grand Ole Opry stage, and they keep inviting me back, I'm like, all right, here's Underestimate Me. It's like a funk song.
You called me last year. I don't remember when that was, but you were like, hey, do you happen to be in town? I said, yeah. Cool. Do you want to go with me to the Opry? And I'm like, she's playing. I'm not playing. But I was like, yes. I love being at the Opry. And I walked out like to the side stage, which I never, you don't really ever go as like a fan, you know, like, cause your time is very, very like taken, you know? And so like, I just wanted to go with you cause I just hadn't seen you in so long. And I just went like, as your like fan and guest.
As my co-writer. We
Well,
wrote
I
a song
know.
together that I was singing that night.
Well, no, but also like as your fan, like, and I'm just sitting there watching you on the side stage, just like kill. And I've watched that for so long. And speaking of that song, I remember leaving that right before we left. I don't remember if it was you or Natalie, but one of y'all said, what did we just write? I remember one of you said that.
It was a really special day.
It was a very special day.
And, well, that's like, I love writing with you because I feel like we were there to work and get something done. There was a title, but we were telling stories and like talking about trips we wanted to take and talking about how hard our careers had been and you know how hard it was to try and interject just like life events into this. And it was so healing. And we ended up with this song about like gratitude. And I just remember that's probably what I was thinking. Like, what did we just write? Like, what did we just do?
It was like so heavy. Like it was like good heavy.
And Natalie Hemby is just like an oracle and a very special person to be in the room with. But, you know, some days you write and you get like a turd of a song and you're like, well, that was fun anyway. And some days you grind away and you finally get a song after a couple rewrites. And rarely do you get a day where, you know, you feel like you're mentally more healthy than you were when you started. Exactly. And that you get something that you love.
And she's also somewhat of like a therapist, sort of like,
yes,
there's been some dark stuff I've dealt with in my life, and it's randomly always when there's a write scheduled with her or something. And we've joked about it now because I've gotten through a lot of it, you know, but like some ex-husband stuff and like random heavy stuff. And she'd be like, I guess I'm like your therapist too. And I was like, kind of.
I'm so thankful that she was like, well, I have a day with Sunny. Like, come jump in on that.
Oh my gosh.
And it connected us. But like, you guys wrote My Own Lane together. Mm-hmm. Is that, and like, that's the song all about, like, I think that's so you.
It's about me firing everybody.
Is it? Mm-hmm. Okay. Well, I didn't know all that.
There you go.
I heard it as, you know, this is about all the excitement you have about the road ahead and doing it your way. And
We have to trust
you
yourself.
walk the walk when it comes to doing that.
But also, like any decision you make, you have to end up trusting yourself first. And that's what I think the main thing I've learned in my life is there's a very, very small group of people that I have as like friends. I mean, I have a like ton of acquaintances. I know a lot of people. I'm so grateful for all those people. But like my little tiny group of friends is about 4 people. And they've always been like, you're going to end up, 2 of them will be on stage with me later. But they always will just, if I'm struggling with something and I ask them what their opinions are, because they're way more clear-headed and rational than I am, because I'm not a rational person at all. I'm very, very like over dramatic. But also that's part of like artist. Like I think sometimes artists are just weird a little bit, and I've come to realize that that's just okay.
The volatility can work in our favor.
Okay. I love
Sometimes.
that. I love that. Yes.
But then you also need people who you love to harness it. Do you feel like those friends you're talking about, are they mostly creatives?
They're both very creative.
Are they in this industry? Do you feel like that's like a prerequisite for
I don't think it's a prerequisite, but I do think that it helps because, well, one is my harmony singer. She's also one of my co-writers, and one is my guitar player, also my boyfriend. So it's like them, and then 2 of my other best girlfriends are both songwriters, country songwriters, you know, and I've had plenty of people go, well, all of your friends are, you know, country women singers. Isn't there like any jealousy? I'm like, no, like not at all. In fact, there have been moments in my life where those women and that man have been in my life where they were at my Country Music Hall of Fame, like thing, whatever, you know, display.
Isn't that interesting that that's a question too? And it's not like it's not a bad intended question, but just that there's a presumption that there would be jealousy there inherently because it's a lot of women who are working in the same field.
That are doing the same job. I'm like, or you could consider it like this. You need to write with those people and make better songs than any of you had together, collectively put your minds together. A rising tide floats all boats. There's no way that that's not going to happen. So if something good happens for me, it's going to happen for them and vice versa, you know? And in 100% I can say this, they have never, and I have never shown a single ounce of jealousy because there's no reason to. There's room for everyone.
I can attest to that. You are genuinely happy for other people when you see them, especially when you see them thriving, doing what it is that they want to do, and unapologetic.
I cried my eyes out with you.
You did. You really did.
I'm so excited for everything with you.
And I know it, but it's also nice to have people who, like, you can get to the good stuff quickly because they understand that you're tired. They understand that, like, you know, your time at home, you aren't going to be going out there to be social, and there won't be judgment. I also know that, like me, you work with your partner, I work with my husband, you work with Harley. And a lot of people think that's crazy, and that there's they're like, are you just a workaholic or you're addicted to this? But like, why is that something that, you know, you guys are so compatible?
Well, as I was talking to your band in the back, first and foremost, we don't have to explain ourselves to each other. He's got a room that he does things in. I've got a room that I do things in when we're home. It's the one time we get to, like, not have to hang out together. That being said, he's probably the only person I really like hanging out with all the time. We are also very thermostatically compatible. Y'all laugh, but I am not kidding. This is a real situation.
I think there's some...
Y'all, I've gotten a divorce over that before.
This is resonating with the audience a bit.
No,
yeah.
I've straight up got divorced because of that before. Not really. It wasn't just that. There's a lot more. Yeah, but like If the air conditioner at a hotel goes to 48, it's going to 48. And then we'll high five in the middle of the. We're like, yeah, this is too good. But also, I mean,
Says the girl from Longview, Texas.
oh my God, I'm so sick of being hot. I
hell.
don't want to be hot. I'm in my
Yeah.
40s and I don't want to be hot anymore.
Yeah. Okay. All right. Fair.
I don't want to be hot ever again. So anyway, I want to move to Antarctica. That's what I'm getting at.
The music scene is hopping. There.
Yeah.
Yeah.
They probably have one bar in the whole continent. But anyway, so yeah, we just get along and we play really well together. We've been producing records together. You know, we've been doing quite a lot of musical stuff together, and we just get along, and he gets it. He knows I'm a little crazy and doesn't judge me for it. 99% of the time doesn't judge me for it. But I am a little crazy. I'm a little hot-headed. I'm a little, like, ADD. I'm a little type A personality. I'm a little bit of a lot of things. And you never know which one you might get.
But you wouldn't want someone to be, it's exciting. See, he's lucky.
See, we keep things
He
exciting.
gets to date all sorts of women in one.
If I would change my hair color, it'd be really good.
He's set. He's
Yeah,
fine.
totally
And it's
hooked.
also about that, you know, kind of like as artists, as humans, forget the artist thing. We all need to work on accepting those aspects of ourselves that, you know, might be run a little hotter than others, but you want that in a partner too, just so we can really embrace all the multitudes within us, because you don't want to dilute all of that down. It's okay to be a little crazy and
I respect
irrational and emotional. That's what's going to lead to a real connection between you and your audience and your music.
And I respect him for wanting to be alone. Like I've never been alone, like, because I always have a friend around or, you know, a big family or whatever. I've just never really spent a lot of time alone, and I've been forced to be like, because he loves being alone, like when we're at home, and that's a great thing, and I'm figuring that out, and I'm learning even now in my 40s to learn to find something to do with my spare time. I end up watching a lot of Forensic Files and Snapped. I like it, you know? But I mean, I love just spending time now quietly. I'll sit there without the TV on for hours and think that it's the best day I've had in a long time, you know? So it's forcing me as an adult to learn something that I've never learned in my life, you know, which I like. So
Well, I think because you also came up during a time where the hustle was so revered. It's like, you got to work, stay out on radio tour. Like, you're someone who stays on the road. And I know it's because you love it, not because you necessarily, like, you feel beholden to it and you're building that hard ticket number. But you also need to find those boundaries. I'm definitely working on it, of filling up the well again and even kind of savoring boredom, because I think that allows for, you know, that box full of lyrics that you found from years ago to fill back up.
I was going to say boredom, as it turns out, really inspires creativity, because when you're so tired, sorry to keep bringing up being tired, but it's like I'm really tired all the time. And when you're really tired, your brain is only thinking about getting your stuff done and then sleeping.
Right.
You know, maybe it's only 5 hours a night. But I mean, that's where my brain takes me to, like, ooh, you could go to sleep in 3 hours if you drive 1 mile an hour faster. You know, like, where there's always a plan just to get to sleep. Like, that is a big deal to me, to be able to try to get to sleep.
Yeah.
I got a trusty Apple Watch so that I could find out how much I was sleeping. It was very disappointing. It was not as much as I thought. I thought I slept way more than I do, and I don't.
How much are we talking?
Between 4 and 6 hours a night.
Yeah, it's light. That's very light.
Yeah.
And there's poetry in the mundane.
Yeah.
If you're in survival mode all the time,
I know.
you don't have time to just, like, really paint the picture of what it is that you're seeing.
And there's a couple nights, in fairness, that have been like 2 nights in a row were 11 hours. But then I felt like a slug all day. So it's just like, I think what you said, it's like you just beat yourself up so much about grind, so you can.
Everyone's doing it.
Yeah.
That. And like some people talking about poetry that you write with, like Lori McKenna. I know she's one of your favorite co-writers.
One of my favorite human beings on planet Earth.
You know, Natalie Hemby, like you love those lyricists, and you tend to write a lot with those people who I just wrote with Lori for the first time last week, and she's got 5 kids, and I know there's a lot of outside forces that are probably, you know, screaming for her attention, but that was all we were working on. It was that session, that song in front of us, and like that takes discipline, and you have to find those times, carve those times out for yourself in order to have that kind of focus.
She's one of the most calming, I hate saying motherly because she's only a couple years older than me, but she's very motherly. Like she's calming. She's so smart. She says things that are like so wise, where it's just so simple and so wise. And then like if you telling her like a story or something, she'll be like, why'd you do that? Like, she's not saying it mean. She's just like, I want to know why.
She wants to know why your brain works. She
Why?
wrote Humble and Kind by herself, like in her kitchen.
About her children. She's amazing. Like she's just like such a great person to share a room or even in any energy with. She's just a really nice person. And I really, the older I get, the more I love just being around nice people, you know?
Yeah. I
just
think
people that are just care about the people that they're around, you know? Even if your circle's so small, like because I can get mad about some things, you know, but I would not
That's okay.
I would never do that to my best friend. She'll be here with me in a little bit, standing here. We've never had a crossword, you know, and I would do anything for her. And I would, even if I was like the most pissed I've ever been in my life, I would never, ever like take it out on her. You know what I mean? So as an adult, I'm trying to figure out how to do that with everyone. So it's not just her.
And hopefully yourself as well.
Well, yeah, me too.
Yeah.
Yeah, me too.
Well, I think you have that ability to make space for people in the creative space, in life, and in your songs for your audience. It's really remarkable. And, you know, I've certainly benefited from it as your friend and as a collaborator of yours. I know we have to kind of wrap this up, and Sunny's going to play some songs for us as well. But I mean, and we've talked so much about, you know, our particular path, especially being women together, coming up in this industry. And there are a lot of things that we've had to navigate that haven't been the easiest. They've been challenging. But I know that I always want to end these conversations by talking about what we perceive the advantages to be of being a woman in this industry.
I wouldn't change a single thing. I'm grateful. It has taught me a perseverance that I never knew that I had. I've always known that I'm hard-headed, but that's not the same thing. But like, I used to have a fake booking agent email that was me. It was me, but I had a fake booking agent email that was a man because there was people that wouldn't take me seriously. And there's one particular man that's name shall remain nameless in Texas. He asked me what I thought seriously that a woman could do at his bar. And I said, I thought he was kidding, but I said, well, I guess I'm going to do the same thing that the guys are going to do. I'm just going to have boobs while I'm doing it. And he was so taken back that I was so crass and said that to him. But like, he was so crass by even asking me that question. And his name will be in my book one day, so you can look it up then. Starts with a J.
He messed around
Rhymes
and
with
found
a
out.
Ustin. Anyway, it's fine. He really did light a fire under me to make me realize that I love being a woman. I love it. I cherish it. I'm grateful for it. The only bad thing is having to get ready, I feel like. That's the only bad thing. but that's it for me. I cherish it. I cherish it. I love it. I love my girlfriends, you know. I love wine. I love hen nights. That's called, like all the girls getting together. I learned that in England. It's called a hen night. Yeah. So I love it. And also when there is success on the other side of all the hard work, it's so much more gratifying because you did do it. I love it.
Sunny, Sweeney, everybody.
Thank y'all.